Hello and welcome to SGPN's The Daily Dog. I'm your host, Britton Hess, and I'm here with another episode for you, giving my favorite underdog fantasy plays for Monday, July 15th, 2024. Today's show is all about the Home Run Derby, and then at the end we'll do a little bit of recap of what we've done in the first 30 episodes of this show. So I've been hard at work in the lab using some data to try to predict this Home Run Derby. I went back till I've basically been using mostly StatCast stats. I started with this in 2021, just trying to figure out what was most relevant to Home Run Derby success and see if there's anything in those numbers. And there is some stuff there. There definitely is. It's not like this is guaranteed, lottery ticket. I've got the long shot that's going to save your mortgage, but I definitely am confident that I have uncovered some statistics that do indicate who's going to do well in round one and who is going to be in the finals of this thing. So I will say the format's changing again this year, which is kind of annoying. That changes the variables from year to year with the Home Run Derby. But that said, I think that we can still learn a lot from first rounds in the past, and we can try to figure out who's going to make it to the semifinals in this Derby, who's going to make it out of the first round here. So the StatCast stats that I focus on, and again, if you are bored by this, then you can fast forward a little bit, and you can get to the picks. But the StatCast stats that I think are most important are launch angle, sweet spot percentage, exit velocity 50, which is the exit velocity average for the top 50% of the balls you put in, or the batted ball events you have. Next is home run distance. If you have a lot of home runs and you average a long distance, that means you have easy power, which is obviously very helpful in this environment where all you're trying to do is hit for power. Hard hit percentage, how often do you get the ball exit velocity 95% or 95 miles per hour or higher, and barrel rate, how often are you hitting that sweet spot of your bat. So it's like the launch angle sweet spot, but it's a little bit more about just hitting that sweet spot on your barrel of your bat. I basically went through the last 8 years of Home Run Derby, so back to 2015, skipping obviously 2020 because there was no event there, and pulled the StatCast data for every single participant in the Home Run Derby. I found a lot of trends that are actually fairly consistent. Basically, those five stats I gave out earlier: launch angle, sweet spot percentage, exit velocity 50, average home run distance, hard hit percentage, and barrel rate. You can basically rank the entire field 1 through 8 on those stats every single year, and then give them a composite average and how they rank in the field in those 5 different categories, and get an opinion on who should be winning these awards. If you look at like 2016, it was where, oh my God, my spreadsheet's so big it's dying. 2016, Giancarlo Stanton was average rating was 2.6, and he was number 1 overall in 3 of those 5 categories, and he won the Home Run Derby no problem. 2017, Aaron Judge was he was number 1 in 4 out of those 5 categories. He won that one no problem at all. Aaron Judge could probably set a Home Run Derby championship record if he wanted to. Just the way that he hits the ball, the way that his swing works, the way that he connects with the ball, where it is on his bat, the angle he hits it with, and the exit velocity he produces consistently. He literally could be the best Home Run Derby champion of all time if he wanted to, but obviously he's got bigger records on his mind, so he's not participating after that win in 2017. But those are just 2 examples of, these 5 stats coming together to produce champions. But in the last 8 years, the 8 years that StatCast has been around, the champion has been in the top 4 in this composite StatCast rank that I've come up with. So you've got to be in the top half of the field in the StatCast era, in these StatCast stats to win this. In my experience, the only exception is 2015 when Todd Frazier won, and he was very much an outlier just as far as what it takes to win a Home Run Derby. He was experienced. He had been to a Home Run Derby prior. And the format was obviously a little bit different then, and there was a lot lower home run totals numbers across the board the year that Todd Frazier won it in 2015. So I don't really think that was, I think that's an exception. That was definitely not the rule. Like when you compare his numbers versus the guys who won in the other 7 years, he's the lowest in he's the lowest in exit velocity 50 out of those other 8. Lowest in average home run distance, lowest in exit velocity, or the hard hit rate, I should say, and he's lowest in barrel percent, like by far in all of these categories. So Todd Frazier is definitely not going to sour my data. I'm just kind of using him as a outlier because, again, the format was vastly different back then. So I'll get to my top 4 guys right now based on my StatCast stats that I think are most predictive of home run derby success. Number 1, Marcel Ozuna with a 1.8 composite ranking. Bobby Witt Jr., 2.2. Number 3 is Gunnar Henderson with a 3.0, and number 4 is Teoscar Hernandez with 4.8. You'll be surprised that the favorite, Pete Alonso, is the second to last on this list, just ahead of Jose Ramirez. I'll also say another trend that I've noticed in the last 8 years, and it's basically like this the longer you go. The winners of this contest are usually going to be outfielders and first basemen, guys who are big, who can use their weight. They're not having to use a ton of effort to swing the bat really hard. I mean, they have to use a lot of effort, but they have a lot of mass behind them, so they're not doing it with all just flexing their muscles and wearing themselves out. We saw Julio Rodriguez, who's a bit of a thinner outfielder. He's a big guy, obviously, but last year, he set the record for 41 home runs in one round and then did not make it out of the second round. So I think that some of our the shortstops who've got in the field, Bobby Witt, Gunnar Henderson, Alec Baum, infielder as well, I think that they might look really good in the first round, but as this thing advances, they're going to be emptying the gas tank, and some guys with more body mass like Marcel Ozuna, potentially Pete Alonso, or even Adolis Garcia could be getting on a little bit further. That said, my underdog play is a 2-pick slip. The slips on underdog are a little bit... The picks are come and go, so the menu you see when you make this entry might be a little bit different than what I am talking about right now, but I made a 2-pick slip. Round 1 finishing position, 2 picks. Bobby Witt Jr., round 1 finishing position, better than 3.5, so he is to finish in the top 3 of the first round. I think that the main thing with him is that he's got such good, he's got good home run distance, so he does have fairly easy power. And his barrel rate, his launch angle sweet spot, and his exit velocity 50 are all really good. So early in this tournament, I think he's going to have plenty in the tank, and I think that he is going to push some of these bigger-bodied guys early. The other one is Teoscar Hernandez, round 1 finishing position, better than 5.5. These are 2 newcomers to the contest, but the only guy who's been here before, is Adolis Garcia and Pete Alonso, and actually Jose Ramirez as well, but Jose Ramirez just really doesn't have the swinging style to do well in this type of event. Hopefully I'm not eating my words tomorrow, but so I think that obviously there's going to be a couple newcomers who make it out of the first round in this event. So the first one I said Bobby Witt, round 1 finishing position, better than 3.5, and I think Teoscar Hernandez, round 1 finishing position, higher than 5.5. Or better than 5.5, so that's lower than 5.5. He's going to finish in the top 5 of the first round. He doesn't even have to make it to the semifinals. He just has to make it out of the group stage of the first round. And again, when I look at his numbers, he's in top half in the field in exit velocity 50, top half of the field in hard hit percentage, top half of the field in barrel rate. So again, those are all really good indicators that he can swing consistently really hard and get the ball moving really fast and get it over the wall. Notice I'm trying to fade Pete Alonso however I can. I want to take him to not even make it out of the first round. So you compare him to, and by the way, I should say that's a 3x multiplier with that 2-pick slip. So Pete Alonso, his numbers just in the StatCast this season versus the seasons when he won this thing are not even in the same stratosphere. He's having a much worse year when it comes to finding the sweet spot of his bat, when it comes to exit velocity. His home run distance is still good, but everything else is faltering. In years past, when he has won, he was much better in a majority of these StatCast categories. He's having kind of a weird season. He doesn't necessarily look like he has. He's obviously powerful. It comes out every once in a while, but it's not on a game-to-game basis like it used to be. So I'm trying to find Pete Alonso. I know he's the favorite to win this event, but I actually have a different pick to win it all, and that is Marcel Ozuna. Marcel Ozuna, you can get about 6-1 to win this whole thing. Big body, great in all the StatCast stats that I care about. That doesn't necessarily mean he's going to win, but that means that he's in a great spot to do it. By the way, I got to tell you that this podcast is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy, and if you sign up with promo code DailyDog, you get up to $250 deposit match bonus. Again, that's promo code DailyDog, DAILYDOG at UnderdogFantasy.com. So yeah, that's kind of my rundown of this, is that I like Bobby Witt to make it out of the first round, but you're not going to get really good value on that. I like Ozuna, obviously, get out of there because I like Ozuna to win the whole thing. Adolis Garcia coming back for a second time, he could maybe do something, but the dude is not actually, he's not having the greatest season. Maybe he's been saving it for the home run derby, but the power and some of his other advanced metrics have kind of fallen off a little bit this year. I'm not really sure what's behind that. I don't know about his health or anything like that. So yeah, if I had to pick my top 4 just based on these numbers, it would be Ozuna, Bobby Witt, Gunnar, Henderson, and Teoscar Hernandez. I obviously don't think it's going to be that clean. I think that, Gunnar could potentially wear himself out, but I'll just tell you. So the bets that I made, these are off Underdog, are Marcel Ozuna to win the whole thing and round 1 home run leader, Bobby Witt Jr., plus 525, or plus 450, I should say, and Gunnar Henderson, first round home run leader, plus 400. So those are just for the first round. I don't think these guys are going to win this thing because, like I said, I think they're going to put a lot of effort to getting out of that first round. And I just think that their longer, leaner, smaller bodies compared to these big power hitters is going to be to their detriment. So, yeah, I'm going Marcel Ozuna. Just the numbers all line up. The way that he swings the ball is good for consistency and for doing this late into the thing. And if you have an opportunity to try to fade Pete Alonso of any head-to-head matchups or him to not win or whatever you can find, I would definitely take a shot on fading Pete Alonso in this because the numbers do not match up to past years. All right, I've been going too long, but I'll say that I said I was going to give a little rundown of our show and how we've been doing on our picks. I'll do that tomorrow because I don't want this podcast to go 15 plus minutes. But again, sign up with promo code DailyDog at UnderdogFantasy.com. Let's make some money.